Leonard Duncan bought the right to mass-produce the Infinity Chip in the same month in which his son, Thomas Duncan, became an international Bible student, or a millennial dawnist. That is to say, a Jehovah's Witness. The Duncans lived in Venice, in the Palazzo Contarini dei Carelli. It had been the family's home for as long as anyone could remember, but the origins of their un-Italian-sounding name was a complete mystery. The eccentricity of the Duncan family was legendary. It was said that they ironed all their newspapers before reading them, and never used the same bar of soap twice. What happened was this. Thomas Duncan got his hand stuck in the soft drink vending machine by the main entrance of his home, and 2 Jehovah's Witnesses swam by and freed him. Jehovah's Witnesses believe, among other things, that Jesus died on a stake, not a cross. They also don't celebrate Christmas. Thomas Duncan was put in charge of the Infinity Chip program by his father. The plan was to install Infinity Chips in every sort of electrical appliance imaginable. Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in hell. They do believe that Satan rules the world, and that the show will be ending shortly. Here is something else Jehovah's Witnesses believe. Only 144,000 true believers will go to heaven. 144,000 out of the whole of human history. That works out at about 1 person every 5 years. One of those 144,000 people is bound to be Charles Taze Russell, the owner of a chain of clothes stores, even though he got divorced. Once. You see, Charles Taze Russell was the founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses. In 1909, the movement established its headquarters in New York, just around the corner from where the very first supermarket was to be opened in 1930 by a group of merchants as a means of combating chain store competition. In 1911, Charles Taze Russell started to wear women's clothes. "It brings me closer to God," he explained on innumerable occasions. In 1913, Charles Taze Russell's wife divorced him. It had nothing to do with vacuum cleaners. In fact, they were only just available at the time and were huge, the size of modern fridges, and took 2 people to use. Anyway, in 1913, Charles Taze Russell got divorced and went to heaven, the first person to do so in 5 years. Aloha! 2 months after Charles Taze Russell got divorced and went to live in heaven, Joseph Franklin Rutherford was elected president of the Jehovah's Witnesses. John Franklin Rutherford unfurled a massive scroll during the Witness 1922 convention at a place called Cedar Point. On the scroll were the following words: "Advertise, advertise, for God's sake advertise." Joseph Franklin Rutherford took up residence in a mansion in San Diego, built by the Jehovah's Witnesses to house Abraham and the prophets upon their return to earth. The mansion had central heating, a swimming pool so Jesus could go running, tennis courts, and a model railway in the attic, which Joseph played with insensately. Okay. He said it brought him closer to God. Joseph named the little model town the trains travelled through Bethlehem. The model town of Bethlehem had an abortion clinic and a blood transfusion clinic, outside of which were tiny little model Jehovah's Witnesses in silent protest. The mansion also had 5 vacuum cleaners the size of fridges. Joseph Franklin Rutherford slept in the Noah suite. In 1997, the mansion burnt down. Faulty wiring and Satan were blamed. As a matter of course, in fact, firefighters thought the whole thing had been started when a light bulb intended to be the Star of Bethlehem had fallen onto the manger on the outskirts of the model town near the miniature plutonium dump. The Jehovah's Witnesses started building a new mansion which would have its very own golf course. They also bought a beach house in Barbados for the prophets. It had cable TV and a helicopter landing pod. Joseph eventually went to heaven, and the Jehovah's Witnesses did away with presidents, although they still believed, even in 2022, that only 144,000 people would go to heaven. In 2024, Jehovah's Witnesses would go back to electing presidents. Work on the second mansion had only just started when Thomas Duncan was told the truth, had his hand freed, and become a witness. Thomas Duncombe ordered that the doctrines of his particular religion be added to the Infinity Chip. This was duly done. Early prototypes behaved awkwardly. They did not interact well with humans. They were obstinate and opinionated. They had nothing to say that did not refer back to Scripture. They were deemed antisocial and terrible bores. "Perfect," said Thomas Duncombe. "Shit," said Leonard Duncombe when he read reports of the early prototypes. He flew to the research station in person to see what was going wrong. Thomas asked his father when he arrived if he was happy with the way the world was. Leonard Duncombe was so angry when he heard his son had become a nut and saw what he had done to the Infinity Chip that he broke one of his porcelain cats. He always carried a porcelain cat in his hand, you see. "It was how I met my wife," he would explain on innumerable occasions. Like most collectors of porcelain cats, Leonard Duncombe was a raving atheist. Leonard Duncombe ordered all the nutty material removed from the Infinity Chip at once. Technicians deleted all the nutty material, nearly. A teeny weeny little thing got overlooked. The teeny weeny little thing that got overlooked was this: the belief in God. Mass production began soon after that. All kinds of things were given Infinity Chips. TVs, toasters, irons, kettles, alarm clocks, dishwashers, shavers, food mixers, vacuum cleaners, even supermarket trolleys. Conscious electrical appliances became all the rage, and the old unconscious appliances were thrown out. When no one was looking, Thomas Duncombe stole the early antisocial prototypes and handed them over to his fellow Jehovah's Witnesses. It was from these prototypes that the Ding Dong Sevens were created. I told Edgar Malroy that I believed in the scientific method, the laws of gravity and commerce, that man is ultimately a positive rather than a negative force in the universe, that any product with the word new on its packaging really was new. I told him I believed in coupons, bulk buying, special offers, and God.